Hello and welcome to A Study in Chaos. My name is Kat. I publish stuff under the pen name Cat Leo, and I do stuff on the internet at KatsChaosCafe. And today's episode is not a pleasant topic. It is a depressing or sad topic. Today we're going to be talking about grief, and um, unlike normal episodes, this one might have um I might have to stop recording and then start recording again. I've done it a couple of times, but it was like to let the dog out. Um, Grief. What do you associate when you hear grief, or when you think of someone experiencing grief? Most people think of the five stages of grief: um, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Like traditionally, this is like when you hear the stages of grief, that is most of the time what people think. And I, through therapy, grief is not just about the loss of a person. You experience grief from so many different things, from the loss of a pet, from the loss of a loved one, a loved pet, um, from changes in life. Uh, no you can grieve an experience. You can grieve. It's like an infinite amount of things. Like you can grieve so much about so many things, and some of those things are more societally correct, like grieving the loss of a loved one. Society tends to recognize that as grief. Some people are rude and think that you shouldn't grieve your pets, but hey, I don't like them. They can get out of this house. They don't belong here. If you're like that, get out, please. Tell me you don't know how to like care about something or someone without telling me you don't know how to care about others. Um, Type of thing. So the I recently lost in the last couple of years, actually, I've lost two pets. But for me, in the last episode, I explained why I haven't achieved some of the stuff this month I wanted to achieve, and why my previous week was not a good week. Um, I am in a way still grieving Gizmo. I haven't been able to take his cage down yet. Uh, I'm going to push myself to do that today or tomorrow, because they're my 2 days off. But tomorrow it will have been a week since Giz passed away. Giz wasn't even my guinea pig. He was my parents' guinea pig, and I hadn't realized how attached I had got to the little guy. Um, and what's so jarring is when you don't expect grief. I'm not gonna lie, I knew Thursday night he was probably going to pass overnight, and that he wouldn't be there, Friday morning. Like I knew, like logically speaking, based on how he was, we almost thought Giz was just gonna just give out, I guess is the word. When my stepdad was holding him, because like we just let him be, we cuddled him and we loved him, um and made him comfy, and there was a few times where we thought he was about to just stop breathing. um and what's interesting is humans aren't the only ones who grieve. If you've watched documentaries and stuff, you have probably, like animal documentaries, you've probably seen like wild animals grieve and stuff. And I know for a fact with the menagerie here at the house, that's what I call the all the animals and stuff. Animals grieve. Parker and Paris, they're the guinea pigs that are mine, and they were Gizmo's sisters. They were from the same litter, so they were the same age, and they were and probably are still in mourning. The day he passed, the guinea pigs were silent. They barely squeaked. They didn't even squeak when I turned the light on, when I offered them like carrots or normally, when you offer them food, they squeak. They get happy and excited because they're like, "Oh, yay! Extra treat type of thing." Because they get lettuce every day and like they get the nutrients and stuff they're supposed to, and then like sometimes we throw in a couple extra carrots or like little guinea pig treats type things. And they'll squeak for those things, or they squeak in the mornings normally when I turn the light on, but they didn't, and they only squeaked like later in the day on Friday, like once, and then they almost didn't squeak most of Saturday, and so and they were because Giz is a boy and he could still impregnate a female guinea pig. His cage was he was in a separate cage, but he was pressed up against the cage of the girls, so he could actually interact with them still. Like you could see them nudging each other through the cage sometimes, and they would chatter at each other and everything. So Paris can see into Gizmo's cage, and every time I would turn around, she would be there trying to look at his cage and he wasn't there. So I know the guinea pigs are mourning. And Sassy, who the cat, she's a cat. She has gotten in trouble so many times because she figured out how to open Gizmo's cage. I had to find a latch lock thingy to keep it shut, to keep her out. Like, she never hurt him. Like, she never caused harm to him. Gizmo never caused harm to her. The first time she did it, Gizmo was actually bigger than she was at the time, and like you don't want your cat in your guinea pig cage. I'm just saying, like I freaked out every time. Um, but once she could no longer get in there, instead of laying inside his cage, because I don't know how many times she did this. I only caught her a couple of times, but that means she was in there more than that. She would lay on top of Gizmo's cage, and he would just chitter up at her, and she would just purr while he chittered. And after he was carried out by my mom, um, Sassy would sit on top of his cage and just like tap it, like, "Hey, are you gonna come out? Why aren't you coming out?" type of way. Um, and Buddy, the dog, they got Buddy not long before, or I don't remember. They got Giz and Buddy at about the same time. Is the thing. So the entire almost the entire time Buddy has been here, Giz has been here as had been here as well. And so he like honestly, if you've never seen a dog close to tears, it's heartbreaking. It is honestly heartbreaking. Because Giz Buddy saw my mom carry Giz out, and then he saw my stepdad bury him. And like he was very down all day. I was down. I'm literally blinking back tears right now. Um, but humans aren't the only ones that mourn. We're not the only ones that go through grief. Um, and I have little doubt that the pets here, the menagerie, is still grieving a little bit because every day with someone is it's a lot. Like, I'm grieving this little piggy boy that I didn't realize how attached I was to him. My streams are very quiet now. I don't know if you so I also do live streams and stuff. Saturday nights I do a regular live stream with my friends, and in the corner of my camera sometimes, because you can, depending on which screen we're on, depends on how wide my camera goes, you could sometimes see Giz in the corner of my camera behind me, and he would be watching the stream. Like, he would be facing my computers, and you could tell which monitor he was looking at because he'd be turned a little bit farther one way. So like, it's painful. It's something. It's an adjustment. I'm no longer feeding three guinea pigs, I'm only feeding two, type of thing. And it's going to take time. Um, and how one way that has helped me to grieve him, um, is art. If you're interested, Coffee Bunny Cafe, .com is the website that we have merch for the Coffee Bunny. We've been doing Coffee Bunny for like 4 years now. Um, and I made an image of Gizmo. Like it's a little cartoon guinea pig. It's not the best in the world. It's really not great, but it helped me to grieve. So Giz is now immortalized on a shirt design. Actually two. Um, Possibly more in the future. And like for me, that's one way that I grieve and I process grief is through art. Um, a few years ago, my grandfather passed away. Um, and I was away at college, and I came home for his funeral, of course. But then I had to go back home, and so over time, within that year, I don't remember exactly when I did it, but in my grieving process, I painted a portrait. I use, I'm terrible at drawing people, by the way, so I heavily used reference photos and I helped use it to outline. Um, like, I'm not gonna lie, I had to do some tracing um, for that piece, but I painted a portrait of my grandfather and gave it to my mom. That is part of how I grieved my grandfather. Um, so this is kind of a theme for me. Sometimes I use art to grieve. Um, for food, when I lost my great grandmother, I was a senior in high school, and the day before was one of my best friend's birthday. And we will like I had a great time at her birthday, and then the next day I went to a baby shower. But that morning of that baby shower, before we ever left, um, I we got the call that my great grandma had passed away. Oh, the puppy's waking up. I'm puppy sitting right now, by the way. I was taking the time that he was napping to do this, and he's waking up. Oh no, he's going back to bed. Okay, so give me a break from the thinking. Um, but I still went to the baby shower that day when after finding out my grandma had passed, because you know what? I was going to a baby shower for my nieces. Like my stepsister was pregnant and it was her baby shower, and I ate so many cupcakes. I'm pretty sure I ate a quarter of the cupcakes that were there. Okay? Like, and nobody stopped me. They just made sure I also consumed protein and was like hydrating and stuff. But like several people there knew what happened. Of course, my stepsisters were told, um, and some family. Because, like, obviously, they could see something was wrong. So I ate a lot of food. Sometimes when I'm grieving, I just eat a lot of food. Or I just need to be kept busy. Keep my hands busy. I think that's part of why art has helped me personally. Some people, everyone grieves differently. My way is just somehow creative. Or I eat my feelings sometimes. What are you doing, Bubby? Hey, don't chew on that. Okay, I will continue this in a moment. So, how I process grief is with art and eating. Sometimes I lose myself in writing um, types of things, whether it's I'm like, I just need to be happy for a few minutes, or I just need to feel something other than sadness, Or maybe I want to relay that sadness into what I'm writing. Um, Sorry, I was gone for a while actually with the puppy. Um, it's and grief isn't like step one, step two, step three. It's not like that. It's cyclical. And sometimes you roll back farther and then you jump forward in the stages. It truly depends on you. Some people get angry and they stay in anger. Um, Sometimes people work through their grief with a punching bag. Um, or in unhealthy ways. Punching bags are perfectly healthy. Just don't use a person as your punching bag. That's all the time. Um, oh, the puppy. Sorry, I keep getting distracted by the dog. It's continuous. And then there is grief that's like a group. So sometimes you can commiserate with others on your grief, and sometimes it's you're anticipating it. So for me, when Giz passed Thursday night, I was already grieving him because I could tell that it was going to happen. And then it still hit me like a freight train on Friday when he had passed. Um, so it's different. And then like another thing, so what I actually went to therapy for was I had been diagnosed back in 2022 with ulcerative pancreatitis. And I was grieving the loss of self, the loss of who I was and who I would probably never be again. I may never be able to move. Um, I used to, one of my jobs, I worked in the back room and I did pricing on some stuff. It was a secondhand store. And I used to be able to just move furniture and stuff. Like I used to be able to move 200 plus pound furniture and just shove it around by myself. And I can't do that anymore. Um I haven't been able to do that for a while. I can't accidentally work 8 hours without a break. I used to accidentally do that. Because I would just get into a task and then just do it. My body would never let me do that now. Um, Things like that. Not being able to be who you used to be is a and grieving that is completely and 100% away grieving. What are you doing, puppy? Um, so there is just grief is in all types of forms, and uh this is just kind of my grief. Also crying. I cry a lot when I'm grieving. I cry so much. I cry at a lot of things though. And hold on, I gotta go find a bus. The puppy was headed towards the stairs. We're good. Um, but so you can grieve big things and small things. People will grieve experiences. Um, the fact they never got them or they'll never get them again. Types of things, or a new journey is beginning and you're grieving a previous one. So, in all honesty, sometimes, like when you graduate, if high school was a good thing for you, you might grieve high school, you might grieve college, you might grieve or mourn as you enter a new stage in life. And that's perfectly acceptable. That is a valid form of grief. There is no invalid form of grief. In What are you doing? Oh, um, don't let people tell you that you can't grieve for yourself or something that you lost. Um, Grieving can be so many different things. And It's okay. Um, Grief is so my first experience with someone in my family passing away. I didn't know them that well because they lived in another state. And I could count on one hand the amount of times I've met this person or been around this person. But my dad, he it was my uncle, my who my dad, it was his sister's husband. Uh that is the first time I ever saw my dad cry was when my uncle passed away. I was oh gosh, I think I was in early high school at the time when he passed. And the second time, so like two, almost three times, I've seen my dad cry, was when my uncle passed away, who was a childhood friend of my dad's. Like they were truly friends, and brothers, beyond like they had a brotherly bond. The second time was my great grandma. And the third almost time was sorry, was when I found out Doper had passed away. Doper was my child. Okay, so Doper was supposed to be my sister's cat. My sister wanted a cat, my dad said no, and my sister came home with three cats. That is the story of like every dad's life, I swear, when it comes to pets. Um, my dad did not want this cat. It was supposed to be my sister's cat. Doper hated my sister. Like, till the day he died, I don't think my sister could like pet him. It didn't, he like, we don't know why. Other animals love my sister. Doper just did not like my sister. But he loved like, he met my dad and was like, this is my human. This is mine. Um, so Doper ended up my dad's cat. Like, my parents, got divorced, um, and my dad kept the cat. Um, my I moved out, my dad kept the cat. Like when my sister moved out with my mom, cuz biologically speaking she's not my dad's daughter. But he is still like her dad cuz he helped raise her and she calls my dad. Um so it was basically assumed that Doper became my cat when in reality Doper was never my cat. He was my dad's cat. Doper didn't want me to pet him. Um Apparently on several occasions like my dad would like check on me to make sure like I'm sleeping and stuff. Um and he would check and there'd be the cat on me or on like resting on my head and the cat would just be glaring at the door. Or if I like fell asleep on the couch or something, the doper would like guard me like if you wake this child, I will commit homicide. Is basically the look that Doper would get on his face. And I know he would because had it directed at me. And like when I found out they had to put him down, he was old. When he was younger, he had been hit by like two cars. His one leg like was like a borderline gimp leg. Um like he still had his leg, and he still had feeling and stuff in it, but like it was never the same. He couldn't properly walk with it. So this was, and he was a little old man up. But his health deteriorated. And my dad became attached to this cat. That he was like, I hate this cat, and la la la. And he's like, that's my cat. So grief is very powerful. Hey, don't chew on that, sir, puppy. I want you all to know that this puppy that I'm watching is 7 weeks old, so he's worse than a toddler human. Because he is like, I'm gonna put everything in my mouth. And I'm like, sir, please stop, puppy dog. So yeah, grief is a thing. Um, as you can tell, it is you're still affected. Sometimes it never goes away. It can be years later. Like it's 2025. My great grandmother passed away in 2016, and still talking about it makes me tear up. Makes me my throat tighten. Um, my doper passed 2 years ago, I believe now. Hi, Bobby. Um, and like talking about the cat, I'm tearing up. So like, yeah, sometimes grief takes a long time. And it may be 20 years down the road, and you may say something that reminds you of something or someone you loved, someone you lost, and it'll hit you, and maybe you'll cry. And it's 20 years, and you're like, shouldn't my grieving be over? No, it's never really over. There are better days, and there are great days, but then there are moments where they remind you of something, and you're just back then in that grief. This puppy. My cat is gonna be so pissed at you. He's rubbing up on stuff, and my cat's like, hey, that's mine. Um, so this episode was brought on in part because, like, I'm grieving for a guinea pig that I was like, I thought I wasn't attached, but I'm attached to that little dude. And we're getting distracted. You guys can't see him, but there's an adorable puppy. He's a golden doodle, 7 week old puppy. He's so tiny. Honestly, he is the size of the guinea pigs. Running around. Uh, I'm actually really glad I'm doing this episode with him while I'm watching this puppy because he's making me smile while I'm very sad. So, thank you for listening to me ramble about my experience with grief and some randomness about grief. If you want to share anything, please feel free to do so in the comments. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a better day, and I hope you smile today. I hope something makes you smile today. See ya. Thanks for listening.